Pure and perfect every time.
Hello, my dear students of class 12. Hope you are all fine. Just for a little break, we are back again to discuss about our subject political science. But before that, let me appreciate the initiatives taken by the education department of our state. That see, in the beginning we have started with the recorded classes under SCERT, then live classes in bilingual system, basically for the Bengali medium students was started. Then exclusively for English medium students, the live classes started on 2 days weekly basis. And recently the students helpline call center is started. And today I have got a call from Panisagar, and I felt really very happy that yes, the students are really interested to learn something. So I request you, please take the initiative of all these matters and develop yourself. Okay, now let us recall what we have studied in the previous chapter. In the previous chapter we have studied about the challenges of nation building. What were the challenges we have found over there? The first challenge came to the nation builders was the maintaining unity of the nation. Of course, our motherland India is a vast country with lot of diversities, and it was really a challenge to maintain unity of our country. Another important thing we have to include here that unification of the princely states. Hope you can recall in the first chapter we have discussed unification of the princely states. There were 564 princely states in our country when India got the independence, and it was really troublesome for our nation builders to unify all those princely states with the Indian Union. So isn't it one of the biggest challenge for maintaining unity of the nation? Then the second challenge we have seen establishment of democracy. Actually on these matter we shall discuss in detail today. That's why we are finding the link between the previous chapter and today's discussion. So establishment of democracy was another biggest challenge. Why? Now see, the country which was underruled by the foreigners for around 200 years, and our nation builders were confident enough that yes, the people of our nation are ready for accepting the true democratic system. Though the other countries which got the independence almost in the contemporary period of Indian independence, they did not follow the true democratic method to run their administration. They followed some other easier methods. Hope you can recall, you have studied in class 9 about the administrative system followed in Pakistan, then Republic of China, then Mexico. They followed different methods. Rather we say easier method for the establishment of democracy just for the namesake. But our nation builders realized that no, we cannot go for the easier way. Let us take the challenge. Let us try to establish democracy in true sense. So it was really a challenging one. And what was the third challenge that we have studied earlier? That is uniform development with special emphasis on the downtrodden one. Now see, there was huge millions and millions number of people were under the poverty line when we got the independence. And in true sense, establishment of democracy will be meaningless if those people cannot really enjoy the taste of freedom that our nation builders dreamt about. So these three challenges we have discussed earlier, and today we shall focus on basically the second point, that is establishment of democracy. So the chapter's title you see, era of one party dominance. Of course these matters will come under this discussion. Okay, now let us see why we are calling establishment of democracy was really a challenging one. I have given the caption here, challenges of building democracy. Now see, as I told you, other countries which have got the independence almost in the contemporary period of Indian independence, they have gone through some other easier methods. Instead of establishing true democracy, they followed some easier methods for running the administration, because they thought if they truly apply the universal adult franchise method, if they give the provision for voting rights for all the people, all the adult people, then it will be a troublesome one. It will be really a challenging one. So they did not go for those troublesome ways. So they have chosen some other easier methods. What are those easier methods? Either they ruled by one party, as you have seen in Republic of China, isn't it? In class 9 you have studied. Okay, normally one party used to dominate over there. Then either by one leader, say like Parvez Musharraf, in some other countries also, and or some other countries you have found the army rule, isn't it? Again we can say about the Parvez Musharraf, who ruled in Pakistan for a long period of time, isn't it? His issue of referendums and all that you have studied in lower classes also. So these are quite easier methods. Okay, running the administration by a single party, or by the domination of army, or by a single dictatorial ruler. These are quite easier method. Okay, instead of establishing true democracy. But as I told that our nation builders took up the challenge, and they never thought politics as a problem. They did not consider politics as a problem. Rather, they thought that this is the solution of the problem. Through politics, we can solve those problems, those challenges. Now see, those challenges of nation building were to be solved by political means, isn't it? In that socio-economic situation, politics could help the matter. Okay, so that's why they never thought that politics as a troublesome one. Okay, rather they thought that it will be a solution for the problems. Okay, so as I told, our leaders has chosen the difficult path. Okay, our leaders have chosen the difficult path, and of course in politics there is competition for the power, for the achievement of the power of administration, and through this achievement they can rule the administration. Okay, they can run the country. So that is the system. Now we shall see how was the world's biggest democratic election. It is really very interesting. Let us see how was the world's biggest democratic election took place, okay, in the world. That is, we are talking about our country India. That was the world's biggest, we should say, world's biggest democracy's election. Before that, let us recall a bit about our Indian Constitution. All of us we know that it took around 3 years for the formation of Indian Constitution. Okay, constitutions from various parts of the world were being collected by the Constituent Assembly, and the members have gone through those, and ultimately, finally, the world's biggest constitution was written under the leadership of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the father of the Indian Constitution. All of you know these matters. Now the thing is that in the Constitution there was provision for the formation of Election Commission of India. Okay, so the first thing first, Election Commission of India was formed. Election Commission of India was formed in January 1950. It was one of the great initiative taken by our nation builders, that yes, if we have to conduct the election in proper manner, in fair manner, then we need a fair body, a transparent election system which will be conducted by the Election Commission of India, which was established in the month of January 1950. Now, the Election Commission of India has got the biggest challenge, because the world's biggest democracy's election was going to be taken place over there. There were 17 crore eligible voters. 17 crore eligible voters at that time. I think all of you know the voting age, presently it is having 18 years, originally it was 21 years. Okay, later on, by the amendment of the Indian Constitution, it has been changed to 18 years. But that time, in the year 1950-51, there were 17 crore voters, eligible voters, who were supposed to cast vote in the first general election of the world's biggest democracy's election, rather we say. Now, out of these 17 crore voters, only 15% were literate. Only 15% voters, just imagine. 15% of the voters were literate. Now there was the question, out of 17 crore voters, if only 15% are literate, then could those people judge, elect their representatives in a proper manner without being biased by any political party, any person? So that's why there was some contradictions, there was confusions. Some people also commented that it was going to be the world's biggest gamble. Yes, that was the comment of many people, that it was nothing but going to be the world's biggest gamble. Nothing is that. Still, in that situation, the challenge was taken by our leaders. Let's see how it can be handled. Okay. So these 17 crore voters, and out of only those 17 crore, 15% literate voters, but still the challenge was taken. And see, whenever any election is going to be taken place, the total country has to be divided into political constituencies, electoral constituencies. Okay, dividing the country into electoral constituencies. Electoral constituency. I think you know the meaning of electoral constituency. Electoral constituency is a division from where a representative is going to be chosen. All the political parties set their representatives to contest the election, and out of those representatives, one by the means of majority vote will be elected. So that is the division, a political division. In simple words, we can say a political division of a country or a state is called the electoral constituency. Okay. Now, among those constituencies, the country has to be divided. It was not a easy job. Okay. It was quite time consuming also. Okay. Then came the preparation of voters list. Okay. The voters list, those who are eligible voter, their names to be included. Okay. Preparation of voters list. It was another challenging job. The first time election is going to be taken place in the world's biggest democracy. So preparation of the voters list was another biggest challenge. Now, while preparing the voters list, around the name of 40 lakhs women were missing. Okay. Actually, the name of 40 lakh women were not included in the voters list. Now, when those voters list was handed over to the Election Commission of India, they rejected it. Instead of the name of those women, it was written like this, say the daughter of or the mother of, like that. The name was missing from there. But they were also eligible. Then how come with that voters list, Election Commission was going to conduct the election? So they rejected it. Again the voters list was prepared. Okay. So voters list, it took sufficient time, quite a long time to prepare properly. Now 3 lakhs officials were trained. 3 lakhs officials, those who will conduct the election, were trained, because first election, all the procedures and the election must take place in a transparent manner, in a fair manner. So 3 lakhs of officials, the government officials, okay, were trained in proper manner. That also took quite a long period of time. Now, those 17 crore voters had to choose 489 MPs in the whole country, okay, and 3,200 MLAs were going to be chosen. Isn't it a big number? Out of 489 MPs and 3,200 MLAs were to be chosen by the 17 crore eligible voters. So all these matters were really challenging one. So the Election Commission took up the challenge, and the training of those 3 lakh officials continued for a long period of time. Then division of the electoral constituency, then preparation of the voters list, inclusion of the name of women, 40 lakh women. So all these were like the big event, because as I am telling you repeatedly that it was world's biggest democracy's election going to be taken place. Now this election, the result of the election was not at all a surprising one, okay. The election result was not at all a surprising one. Why? I think you can realize, okay. That is the chapter's title, that era of one party dominance, okay. We are telling that about the Congress dominance, we are talking about Congress dominance, okay. The result of the election did not surprise at all. The people are not surprised with the result of the election. Why? Because they knew which party was going to be the victorious, which party was going to win the election. People could recognize the situation, and out of 489 seats, okay, for the MPs, 364 seats owned by INC, Indian National Congress. It was a grand victory. Out of 489 seats all over India, 364 seats were owned by Indian National Congress. It was a grand victory for the party. And Communist Party got 16 seats. Communist Party in the first election got 16 seats. Then the Socialist Party, we can say the second position, the Socialist Party got 10% of the total votes, 10% of the total votes, and successful to win only 3% of the seats. That was the situation, okay. So now we can see the position of Indian National Congress was quite dominating one, and that's why the chapter's title goes era of one party dominance. I hope you can realize. Now there were some reasons behind why Indian National Congress dominated almost in the first 3 elections, that is 15 years, almost 15 years, from 1952 to 1967. It continued like that for a long period of time. Now see, those who were contesting the election, among them there were many freedom fighters, the leaders, okay, those who have dominated the Congress party for a quite long period of time. They were the people who are going to be chosen by the people, who are going to be elected by the people, okay. So now we shall see the reasons for Congress domination. What were the causes that Indian National Congress dominated in the first three general elections in our country. The first is the impact of freedom struggle. One thing we have to remember, you see the timing of the election. What is the timing of the election? It was from October 1951 to February 1952. But basically the major part of the election conducted in the month of January, February, that period. That's why it is called that the first general election of India took place in the year 1952. Whatever it is, from October 1951 to February 1952, isn't it a long period of time? So the first general election took quite a long period of time for conduction. Now actually we are talking about the domination, the reasons for the domination of Indian National Congress in the first three elections. Now we are in the first phase. So there was fresh impact of the freedom struggle among the minds of the people. Those were the eligible voters. Among them, many people or even their forefathers have joined the freedom struggle. The leaders, those who were there in the Indian National Congress, those who contested the election, those who were the candidates from Indian National Congress, they were the participants of the freedom struggle. So definitely they have got the sympathy of the large section of the people. So that was a very important reason, that is the impact of freedom struggle helped Indian National Congress to win the first general election with a major victory, that is out of 489 seats, 364 seats were owned by Indian National Congress. I hope the first point is clear. So that is the impact of the freedom struggle. Okay, then we should talk about the candidates. Candidates belonged to the freedom struggle. Freedom struggle means the candidates of Indian National Congress, many of them fought for the freedom struggle. So definitely they have got the sympathy from the common people, and those people also fought for were joined with them in the freedom struggle. All the leaders and the common people all were brutally tortured by the British government during the freedom struggle. So that was the impact, that was the situation which favored Indian National Congress. Okay, now we shall see another important feature here, that is the social and ideological coalition. This is very important. Social and ideological coalition, which also helped Indian National Congress to become victorious in the first general election. Now, how this social and ideological coalition took place? We have to go back to the year 1885. So, when Indian National Congress was formed, who were the people basically there? The people, those who were English speaking, the high class society, elite class people. Okay, so they were the people, those who basically belonged to Indian National Congress when it was formed in the year 1885. Okay, now we are talking about social and ideological coalition. Ideological coalition. Okay, this social and ideological coalition helped Indian National Congress to become victorious with a tremendous number, with a great number, isn't it? So it was formed, INC was formed in 1885. This one all of you know, you have studied in lower classes also. So when Indian National Congress was formed in the year 1885, basically the people belonged to the elite class, the English speaking people, so called the high class society. High class people were the members of Indian National Congress, but gradually it has changed, it was transformed. Okay, the formation of the party transformed. Okay, the structure of the party, rather we say, was transformed. It became a party of the mass, the common people. Just you recall about that situation when Mahatma Gandhi came in the picture. You just think about the non-cooperation movement that you have studied in history. You think about the civil disobedience movement. Let us take one example of Dandi March. All of you know about that Dandi March, isn't it? You have studied in lower classes. So in Dandi March, Mahatma Gandhi started his journey from Sabarmati Ashram. Now he started only with around 71 or 73 people along with him. But as he proceeded, as he continued his movement, thousands and thousands of people joined him. There was no division. The factory owners and the workers, Hindus and the Muslims, rich and the poor, men, women, people from all the sections of the society joined with him. So it was a grand success, that the Dandi March, where the salt law was broken. All of you know, these are known to you all. You have studied about Indian history in lower classes also. So this civil disobedience movement, then this Dandi March, okay. So various such types of movements prove that it was not at all a party of the elite section only. The common people also joined with them. That is called the social and ideological coalition. Okay, and it was really helpful for Indian National Congress to become victorious in the general election. Now see, let us some other points we shall find out from here. Okay, what were these other points? That is the joining of all sections of the society, joining of all the sections of society. As I told you, people belong to all the sections of the society, all the classes. No religious bar, no higher class or lower class, peasants, farmers, factory owners, workers, all the people joined in the Indian National Congress. Okay, it was a mass movement actually. So definitely they got the advantage here. Another thing, there was coalition within various opinions. Okay, what type of coalition we are talking about? Say for example, in a family, a person is having his 5 sons. Earlier it used to take place, no? So those 5 boys, 5 sons of that person may have different opinion regarding the activities of the family. But as long as their father is alive and he is strong enough to have grip on his sons, so the family remains united, isn't it? So there was conflicts, there was difference in opinion among the party members, but they did not leave the party. Now see what happened? The opposition parties were in trouble because there were conflicts, different opinions. This is called faction. This is called faction. Okay, factions were there. About this, it is detailed discussion in our book also, you will find out. There were factions, there are difference in opinions regarding the party activities, ideology, okay, or the movements and all, election strategy. Regarding various matters, there were difference in opinion among the party members, but none of them left the party. They remained within the party. So, the party itself, Indian National Congress, the party itself worked as the opposition party, because none left the party. Okay, in the beginning, in the prior stage I am talking about. So definitely the opposition parties were in trouble because they were minimum in number. Now see, all these situations helped Indian National Congress to become victorious. They got 45% of the total vote, but they own 74% of the total seats. How it happened? Congress overall was successful to win 45% of the total votes, okay, but they achieved 74% of the total seats. In class 11 you have studied the different methods of election, and we conduct in our country the election in the method that is called first past the post, that you have studied in class 11 in detail. And the benefit of this system is that though Indian National Congress achieved 45% of the total vote, but they were successful to win 74% of the total seats. As we have seen earlier, that is 364 out of 489 seats. Okay? Because the remaining, that is 45% and the remaining is 55%, those 55% votes got distributed among various political parties. And you see, in the first general election itself, there were at least 4 candidates for each seat. So, wasn't it a successful election, a truly democratic election? Yes, of course we can say, because there were at least 4 candidates in all the seats, means 4 political parties minimum sent their representatives to contest the first general election. So, the rest, as I am telling, that 45% of the total votes were owned by Indian National Congress. So, the remaining 55% vote got distributed among the other political parties, but they were not united. There was no coalition among the opposition parties, and definitely it was quite helpful for the Indian National Congress. Hope you got the point. So that way Indian National Congress became victorious, and that is the reason we are calling it a social and ideological coalition. Means all the sections of the society, okay, irrespective of caste, gender, economic status, the people got intermingling here. Okay, they joined up, and the Congress became the victorious. An ideological coalition, why you are talking? Because as there are different factions, different opinions, but nothing forbid Congress to become victorious. Okay, so this is very important, the social and ideological coalition, how they got they were able to win 74% of seats, okay, just by getting 45% of the total number of seats. Okay, Now we shall see the another feature, that is called tolerance, the system of tolerance. Okay, tolerance and management of factions. Okay, tolerance and management of factions. Why we are talking about this tolerance system? Yes, that was there in the Congress party. Within the Congress party there are different opinions among different members. Okay, but as I told you earlier, they did not leave the party. So there was the coalition accommodated all. Coalition accommodated all. Here coalition means the coalition of different opinions, different ideologies. So they have got united, they formed the coalition within the party without leaving the party. So of course the opposition parties were in trouble. I think you can follow. Okay. So this method is also called the all-inclusive. Okay, all-inclusive views. As I told you, in a big organization there may be different opinions regarding the policies of the organization, the activities of the organization, even the ideologies of the organization. There may be different opinions. So they get the chance to share those views. It is not that whenever any individual, any party member wanted to express his views, it was not heard. It never happened like that. So that is all inclusive views. Due to, instead of those different factions, the party was not splitted. Remember, I am talking about the initial stage. Okay, and that helped the INC to become victorious. That's why it is called all-inclusive views. Okay, so definitely opposition parties were in trouble. Hope you can realize, isn't it? Because none was leaving the party. They could express their opinion, they could express their views. Okay, and those were heard by the party high commands, and all inclusive. The party continued with the policy of all inclusiveness. As I told you earlier about the social and ideological coalition, this method also quite successful for the party. And we have to remember that though in the beginning the party was formed by the elite sections of the society, on the earliest basis in 1885, when the party was formed, it was basically formed by the elite sections of the society, the English speaking people or the high industrialist, okay, the rich people, some, okay, a particular section, elite section of the society were the members of the INC. But gradually the party got transformed and it became a party for the mass, for the common people. There was no differences in inclusion of various sections of the society. So that was the benefit got by Indian National Congress. Okay, and ultimately the opposition parties faced the trouble. Okay. Now we shall see another matter also, that there was greater tolerance of internal differences. There was greater tolerance. We have to remember this, that the party leaders, the members had greater tolerance. Of course, when there were huge number of party members, it is quite natural that there will be difference in opinions, difference in ideologies, their policies, okay, but there was the policy of tolerance. There was no exclusive system, means whenever anybody wanted to share their views, it was heard, it was given importance. So that way there was the policy of greater tolerance, even there were the difference in opinions, okay. So that way it became the very much successful, rather we say, okay. So that way we have seen how the first general election and the next two also, the election of 1957, then 1962, in those period also Congress was victorious, and even some state assembly elections also. In almost all the state assembly elections that held together, Congress became victorious. In some places, say for example Travancore, okay, or Madras or Orissa, okay, in those state assembly elections, initially Congress was not successful, but ultimately due to the different opinions among the opposition parties, ultimately Congress formed the government in those states also, okay. I am talking about Madras, Odisha, okay, and Travancore, in those places, okay. Now see, in this course of discussion we shall find out now other important opposition parties, okay. We shall discuss about now the other important opposition parties which also emerged during that period. First we should discuss about here the another important matter here comes, that is changing methods of the voting system, okay. Changing methods of voting. Till now we have seen how the election commission conducted the election, the preparation of voters list, division of the electoral constituencies, then training of 3 lakhs officials, 17 crore voters, out of which only 15% were the literate. So that way Election Commission of India took the great challenge, the greatest challenge rather we say, because it was the world's first biggest democracy's election. We have seen in the first phase of the discussion. Then we have seen how Indian National Congress became the dominant party in the first 3 elections of India. Now we shall see, it is very interesting, I have found in this chapter, that changing methods of the voting system. The voting system, the present day, you have seen, that is EVMs are there, no, electronic voting machine. Normally the elections are held through, the vote is cast through electronic voting machine, but in Panchayat election there is ballot paper system still now. So initially there were ballot papers, but those were quite different. Those were the blank ballot papers. Let us see how was the first general election took place. There were 20 lakhs steel boxes were made. Now you may wonder what to do with those 20 lakh steel boxes. Yes, because within the polling booth for every candidate one ballot box was put in the first general election. Are you wondering about this? But this is fact, it happened. For every candidate, suppose in a center there are 4 candidates, okay, in a constituency, if there are 4 candidates, then in one polling booth there were 4 steel boxes, 4 ballot boxes, and outside and inside, in both the both the sides, there was the pasting of the symbol of that political party. In every ballot box there was symbol was displaying. Got the point? Suppose this is the ballot box and outside here there was pasting of the symbol, and like that different ballot boxes were kept inside the polling booth for every candidate, separate polling ballot boxes. Isn't it very different? Do we find this system today? Of course not. Even in Panchayat election also, when the elections are conducted through ballot papers, there is a single ballot box only. Yes, there is the additional one. If the first ballot box is filled up, then of course the other one can be used. But all the ballot papers are put in the same ballot box. But in the first general election, the system was different. How was the system? For every candidate, one ballot box was put in the single polling booth, and as I told you, the symbol of the party was displaying outside the steel box, okay, outside that ballot box. But it was not easy. In our book you will read one real story is given, that one of the polling official, he went to conduct the election. Now previous night they were engaged rubbing the steel boxes with sandpapers, bricks and all. Why? Because in steel box it was hard, it was tough to paste the symbols of the political parties. Pasting paper was, it was not pasted properly, so they had to rub it, make it rough, then pasting the political symbols. And what about the voters? The voters were given one blank ballot paper, nothing is written there, okay, one blank ballot paper. Now the voters enter into the polling booth. They have seen, they used to see that there are different ballot boxes which were displayed with the political party symbols. So they used to drop that blank ballot paper into his desired box, which was displaying his desired political party's symbol. Got the point? That way the first general election continued with the blank ballot paper and single, means individually ballot boxes for each and every candidate. That way the first general election continued, and the same system continued in the second general election also, that is in the year 1957. Okay, the same process continued. After that the method was changed. Okay, as I was talking about that blank ballot paper, blank ballot papers were issued to the voters in the first and the second general election. Okay, then came the system of ballot papers where the candidate's name and the symbol were displaying. Okay, now ballot paper with candidates name and symbol. Okay, I hope many of the class 12 students will become adult within few months, isn't it? And next, whenever election will take place, you are eligible to cast vote, and if you face Panchayat election, so of course still now the system is, that is the using of ballot papers in Panchayat election. Okay, in other elections, state assembly election or the general election, that is Lok Sabha election, those are held with EVM, no doubt. Okay, but you will see ballot paper when you will go for casting the vote in Panchayat election. Till now it is happening in this manner. Now the first two general elections were conducted with individual ballot boxes for every candidate and with the blank ballot papers. The second phase of the election system came with the printed ballot papers, where the candidate's name and the symbol used to be printed, and this system continued around 40 years. Okay, this system continued for 40 years. Then in the year 1990, first EVMs were used, and in general election 2004 actually, in 2004 general election, the first introduction of EVM was done. Election Commission of India introduced EVM generally, okay, in a mass way in the year 2004. So that way the election procedure went on changing right from the individual ballot boxes, then the printed ballot papers, and the third system is the introduction of EVM, because it is found that printing of ballot papers, it's a huge expenditure and wastage of huge quantity of paper, okay, huge quantity of plans to be cut for making the ballot papers for a single election. So that's why this ballot paper system is being avoided and EVMs are being introduced, because the single machine, one EVM machine, can be used repeatedly in various elections. Okay, so that was the changing method of election, okay, that is discussed in this chapter also. Now we shall see another part, that the emergence of other opposition parties. Okay, in this chapter actually under the era of one party dominance, certain interesting matters, very interesting matters are discussed. We have seen, that is how there was the dominance of Indian National Congress, then how the Election Commission of India conducted the first general election, then now you have found the changing method of election, the voting procedure, okay, and the last part we are seeing here, that is the emergence of the opposition parties, okay, emergence of opposition parties. So within the period of Congress dominance, various other political parties started emerging. First we should say, in the year 1934 itself, 1934, Congress Socialist Party was formed, okay, much before the Indian independence. In the year 1934 itself, there was the formation of Congress Socialist Party. Actually those members also belonged to INC, okay. So that way some other opposition parties were also formed. Say for example, Bharatiya Janasangh, the founder president was Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, then Communist Party of India, then Swatantra Party. So like that many other opposition parties were formed in the course of time. So hope you understood and enjoyed the class. All of you stay well, stay safe. Thank you all.